Thank you, Dr. Boustany. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm angry, too. I want to express the same anger my colleague just expressed. This is an urgent problem. It's an urgent problem. We have to impart the urgency not only to people in this room, but beyond to the American people as to what's happening to American business. Look, we throw around the terms EU state aid, inversions, OECD BEPS action items. We all know what those things mean, but people across this country don't have a clue. But I think they do understand what happens when a multinational U.S. company that started here and grew here leaves from Middle America and goes to Dublin or it goes to Tokyo. They understand that. What they don't understand are what are the second order and third order effects of that. What happens to the suppliers and the other companies, small businesses, LLCs, private companies that are part of the supply chain? What happens beyond that to local establishments, whether they're restaurants or whatever? We need to make that case and impart that sense of urgency throughout this country because American business is under assault. And it's not just American multinationals. It's all of American business. And we need to start talking in those terms. This tax code is broken. Now, we need data from you guys. So, Mr. Wysack, I'm just curious, do we have any hard data on these second order, third order, fourth order effects in communities across this country as a result of what's happening with this very hostile environment that's leading to inversions at an alarming rate and leading to mergers and acquisitions where U.S. companies are leaving or they can't compete? What are those second order, third order, fourth order effects? How does it affect the local hospital, the real estate agency? We need that data. Is there data available?
All right, so let us get it to you. There is such data, and there's data that's even more neutral, not what happens when the company leaves or whether you fight the inversion fight or why they left, but just what a Procter & Gamble means for Ohio. And you can just trace that through every supplier and every restaurant and how much revenue comes from the tax imposed on the wages of the employees. And a lot of you represent districts that have a city like the size of Akron or the size of Cincinnati or something. Just think what happens if you don't have that company. That's why I started with St. Louis. I mean, the parks of St. Louis, the ball fields of St. Louis, I'm sure they'll still be generous, but it's different. But you're right, I came up with...
Our committee needs that data, and we have to all go out and make that case. It's not just us on this dais here or you guys, it's everybody out there. We have to make that case about this urgency. And I'm sick and tired of the punitive measures being promoted on the other side against American business. We have capital that's locked out of here, and yes, they're doing it to get lower tax rates. Tax competition's real, it's part of economic competition. We have to win for the American worker, for the American people. It's time to act now. I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Blumen.